All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of Future Proof Use podcast F Yourself. My name is Dan Yu, as always, here with my colleagues Aaron McKelkey and John Lovig.
Hello.
Greetings. Good to see you guys.
Thanks
Today
for
we are
having me.
talking about jobs that didn't exist even just a couple of years ago and what are kind of the underpinnings of that and where do we see the trends going. Aaron, you were just mentioning chief automation officer, the CAO. It's kind of a
I
new
guess
thing,
that's
I
what we're calling
guess,
it.
right? So what could that look like?
Yeah, well, I do. I've seen companies that have hired for formal positions called Chief AI Officer, where they said, we're going
Mm-hmm.
to bring somebody in, it's a leadership role, and you're going to figure out where AI overlays into the business and the operations. One of the other versions of that is business owners saying, "Hey, I built these systems. Let's say you have a CRM, content scheduling, an onboarding process, and a payment processor, but they're in different apps that don't talk to each other, and a human has to go manually take data from here and paste it there and then rewrite it." And they're going, "Hey, is there someone who could make this talk to that and then connect all the dots so that I don't have to have a human doing it?" That's business ops, but from an automation perspective. And that's something that I don't think anybody was doing 2 years ago because the tools didn't exist and people didn't know you could do that. Maybe with Zapier, but now with MCP protocols, I watched a guy, he connected Claude in the chat. He could order a pizza to his house from Domino's. I was like, how'd you get that system to talk to this? And that's what automation experts or maybe a chief automation officer could do for a business.
For those of us in New York or who grew up with good pizza, Domino's is in quotes there for pizza folks. It's cheesy bread.
That's right.
Delicious cheesy bread. It's good, but I don't know if I would call it pizza as much as I call it. Although their thin crust is quite good.
But we digress. We
Anyway,
digress. So, and some of the other jobs that John you've seen as a recruiter. What are some of the interesting titles that you've seen just kind of crop up over the past few months to a year?
yeah, I mean, I was placing, what was it called? It was called Generative AI Associates.
That's right.
And they were English majors and linguists who were essentially writing for AI models, correcting prompts and responses. They were writing, annotating images, things like that. I think one of the images that on their assessment was like a cow with a veil on. They had to describe that. So, there are people who are training AI. They don't use the term as much anymore, but prompt engineering isn't really a term as often because it's less engineering and more about writing.
So it's almost like the confluence of, the empathy and EQ that comes from an English major, and then dropping that person into an AI kind of a company.
Yeah.
And then now was that just in English?
No, of course Dan knows this because we worked together on this project, but no, it was across every possible language you could think of, as well as they got to a point where they're hiring people to actually write instead of just foreign languages or English, actual code and correct prompts for coding.
And so the depth of the work is seeming to continue to grow. But this also, has the ethics, kind of question, right? And we've heard of roles, AI ethicist, right?
Hmm.
And so, what do you think the implications of that are?
I think the fear is, or my fear from a job perspective, is AI seems very well poised to replace a lot of entry level roles. And then the question becomes, if we don't have entry level roles anymore, what's entry level? How do people get experience to become the person who oversees the AI if you don't have the junior experience? What's that actually look like? How's that manifest? And I don't think people have been thinking about that enough. And AI is great and it's hyper efficient, and I love using it. It helps me with my job every day, and I think it will only improve the life of a recruiter. But are we displacing too many people to survive as an economy? Or is it creating enough jobs to offset the jobs it's displacing? And that I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's the idea that you have to make a mistake, right, to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're if you're just depending on AI to feed you the answer, which actually may or may not be perfect for every situation, right? So then, how do you learn and make those mistakes? Aaron, you've also seen some new roles, some pretty avant-garde job titles out there
Oh my
recently.
god.
So I'd love to hear from you, your perspective, since you are a future-proof use AI expert.
Yeah, I'm not an expert. I'm a practitioner. I'll share one we haven't talked about.
You're our
In the,
expert though.
I'm honored. In the medical field, here's one that I didn't know existed. This is probably 2 years ago. A medical provider left practicing medicine to work for a textbook company. And the role is we AI generate the copy and the text. You are the human in the loop who makes edits and checks off. So she's not training a model. She's curating the output before it gets published to their website or their textbook or
It's like
wherever
QA.
it's Yep. And she's like a copywriter, but the first version did not come from the intern down the hall or the entry level position that John alluded to. The AI model spits out the first draft, and then her job is to polish it, fact check it, clean it up, and then hit submit on it. That's one that did not exist 2 years ago because companies didn't have the tools to make that work. In the tech space, the trend, and it all depends on what platform you spend your time on with social media. Vibe coding and vibe marketing is a thing, and I will confess I actively participate in those. But it's basically this idea that, let's say with code, you used to have to type in Python, or if you want to build a website, you have to type in HTML. You can now code in English by just saying, I want a website that looks like this and has these colors and this section here. And you put that into an AI code assistant. So the most popular ones are probably Cursor, Windsurf, which just got bought by OpenAI, the company that owns ChatGPT, Bolt, Bubble, Lovable. There's a bunch of them where you can basically code now with English. And vibe coders now are like, well, I've always had an idea for an app, but I'm not a developer, and I'm not going to pay $40,000, $50,000 for someone to develop an app just for fun. Well, in an hour or two on a laptop, you can have a working app or website. In the marketing space, it's the same thing. It's like I can create this whole marketing plan from the vibes, just describe, drop in screenshots. It's wild. You can screenshot Apple's website and say, build me the same aesthetics and typography and iconography, but make it for dog food. Drop in a screenshot. You will have a prototype of a website just from the vibes. And we've seen companies, they're hiring people that know vibe coding or vibe marketing tools because you can iterate on things so much faster with AI.
So, do you think that uh, people and companies are getting over the idea that if you're using AI to generate images, right? Those images are based on other images, right? And so, do you think they're just easily getting past that? It seems like with this AI content creation or AI filmmaking that that they all have to be based on something. And is there an IP question here?
Yeah, I actually asked this question on a live stream to a CEO, and he did not answer it. What happens if I create marketing content from an AI avatar? It's not a selfie video of me. It's a selfie video, but it's of an AI avatar that I prompted. Who owns that? The short answer that I can give right now, there are companies that are saying no AI, but I think those are fewer and further between than it was a year ago. And for every one of those, there's more of them saying, you know how to automate that process? Show us, teach our team, build
Right.
us an automation where they're
Yeah.
looking for that. And it's definitely a net gain in the direction of incorporating AI versus trying to put it behind
Well, yeah.
the filter. Yeah.
Look at Duolingo. They recently announced that they're AI first, right? So I don't know if we talked about this last episode, but I feel like we did. They're AI
Yep.
first. They're no longer hiring contractors if they don't need to.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
do you know
Yeah.
which CEO came out the same style email this week was Fiverr,
Yeah.
and they
Oh
said,
wow.
you
That's right.
like including me, the CEO of Fiverr, my current role is going to be replaced by AI. So basically, you can think I'm a jerk for telling you this, or you can start learning how to use it. But if you don't, you will not have a job. And he was saying, like, even me as the CEO of Fiverr,
Well, that's people have been saying why have a CEO who has to make tough decisions when you can have something that's unbiased do it instead. But then that starts to broach even more ethical questions because we are already living in a society where the shareholder matters the most. So it's like, what are we going to do when AI cares mostly about shareholders? They're going to be like, replace everyone with me, Skynet.
That's
yeah.
right.
Well, and here's the AI ethicist role. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say John is the AI ethicist for our company, and I'm the marketing person. And I say, I have this whole new marketing campaign I want to launch on TikTok and Instagram Reels, and it's AI generated UGC content. So it used to be find a college kid who took a selfie video, like, oh, check out this makeup product, link in bio to buy it. Well, you can make an 8-second clip of a fake person holding your real product now. So it looks like user generated content, UGC, but it's AI. I can make that. Okay, John, you're the company's AI ethicist. Should we do this whole marketing campaign with basically AI avatars impersonating young, good-looking, females that use our product, or should we pay 10 times as much money to have real humans shoot those same videos?
Yeah, I know.
Well, I
I
mean,
would.
it could be deemed as false advertising, right? If
Yeah.
you're saying that, you know, I'm using this product, right? Well, you're not really if you're an AI avatar,
I
right?
mean, it's already bad enough with influencers today
It's
where
true.
they probably don't actually use the product, but they get paid to say they do. Now you're coming in with not even a human. It's tough. That's a tough call. And I'm sure. I think the main thing is no one, like government's not really talking about it enough about legislating, rules and restrictions. Like you should. I would say I don't care if you're using AI to do something like that, except I want to know that it's AI.
And okay, so here's one. Let's say we do 20 TikTok videos this week and they're AI avatars. Are we watermarking it in the copy, or are we saying asterisk, this is not a human?
Mm,
Are we putting a disclaimer in our link in bio page that says not all of our
yeah,
marketing material contains real humans? Like, so how do we
yeah,
respect that and be transparent, but still say, well, for a tenth the price, we got 500 times the number of videos because we could just generate them at
yeah.
will.
Well, so
It's like,
go ahead.
oh, there's a movie uh, out. I can't remember. It was a year or two ago, where someone generated an AI version of them, an AI avatar, and became a celebrity, and eventually had to, fess up to the fact that that wasn't a real person because it was an AI avatar. And I could just see like what happens when we don't know who's human and who's not anymore. Like, what's to stop us from creating whole movies, and then now we have, AI Tom Cruise. You know, that's terrifying. Do we own
Well,
our own identity anymore?
so here's the question, right? It's we're asking ethical questions here,
Mm,
right? We're talking about self-imposing guardrails,
mm-hmm.
right? And expecting others to also self-impose guardrails.
Yeah,
Should we even think about guardrails if we know potential competition, or more broadly, other countries where the culture can be completely different. Their ethics, their ethics are their ethics, their morals are their morals. And so
Yeah.
let's say they say, we don't care, right? We're going to make it all, we're going to make it all fake.
Well, we already have interference in our politics and our elections from other countries.
Absolutely.
What's going
Right.
to happen when they have AI avatars that look like us
Right.
and try and manipulate us? So then it comes to a broader perspective of our platforms, our social platforms are going to have ways of detecting these things too, and having rules and regulations around it to protect us as individuals, because we can be manipulated so easily that way.
Exactly where I'm going with this. So, are those new jobs that are going to be
Yeah.
going to come up?
Yeah.
Because a human has to make the call, right? Even if the AI is going to be doing detecting other AI, right? And so it's going to be like a battle of AI that they're going to be fighting with each other. But then still, doesn't a human have to make the call, like thumbs up, thumbs down, on whether or not that's should be allowable?
Is the human going to be more fallible than the technology, though?
Probably.
Yep. And
I
here,
mean,
so here's a
look at Grok. What Grok did the other week.
Yeah.
yeah, here's a concrete example of that. When you go to upload a YouTube video, even a short, they have a box where they require you to check, is there an AI generated scene or person that appears to be real but isn't? Like, are
Oh,
you
that's great.
trying to make a human looking AI avatar? I have never uploaded content with that. I know a lot of people who do, whether it's an AI avatar of themselves or of like a fake UGC creator. So I don't know. I mean, they must use an automated process to review those and say like, oh, that was against our terms of service. You did a AI version of John, and you're not John, and you didn't check that box, so we're gonna block your account or restrict your uploads. But that's just because their company has that policy. So I don't know. Maybe they have an AI ethicist who advise them like this is what we should do with our content. But there's no government agency or law that requires that. So one of the arguments is, well, if no other platforms do it, why would we? It gives us a disadvantage. And the same thing with AI models. You guys have heard this with intellectual property laws in America. Our models, I would hope, would follow those. I know they don't. But in China, when DeepSeek goes, they're going to crawl and scrape every American website and every paid newspaper subscription and train their models on it. Are they going to have an advantage over us because we tried to protect intellectual property and keep things human?
Right. Well,
It's true.
it goes back to being authentic, right? And the authenticity, it can't be. Well, I should say it can't. It might not be able to be copied by an AI, right? And ultimately, we're all about authenticity and being present. I can confirm that John and Aaron and I are actually here today on this
It's not John
podcast.
Bot. Not John Bot today,
Not
because
John
if it
Boss,
was, I'd give myself a better hairline.
but
Well, and,
this goes directly to how one markets oneself, right?
and
And the
here's the
personal
question
brand.
for the job seeker or the career pivoter or the what major should I get in college right now? Oh my gosh, I lose so much sleep over that when my students, I just talked with one yesterday who's like going into their freshman year, like, what do I study that won't be automated and replaced within 4 years when I get out? The first answer is no one knows. So if anyone's telling you, oh, don't worry, this one's safe, they don't know what they're talking about.
That's right.
But the guiding principle, I think, is what Dan is alluding to. What can you do that AI can't or won't ever be able to do? And ironically, one of the things in the legal circles I've been in, this is the one that comes up all the time. Your ability to leverage AI insulates you from being replaced by it. So there's this weird relationship of if you can come into a company and show them the AI version of the thing, you're the last one who would get replaced. But conversely, if you're the person who goes, I do everything manually, I don't use any of that, you're probably the first one on the chopping block.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because you're not efficient.
Yep. And so
And
have being authentic in everything you do, I think, is important. We know that LinkedIn is promoting more and more usage of videos, including selfie style vertical frame videos, in creating your own persona, your your own brand on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. John,
They're
you've seen that growth recently.
Yeah, well, their marketing and sales teams have been posting videos nonstop talking about the benefits of
Hmm.
being the first to market with video on LinkedIn, and the fact that they legitimately even said in the content that they are pushing video as their new format.
Well,
It's the TikTokification of all the other social media platforms.
Yeah,
YouTube did it with shorts, LinkedIn's doing it with videos.
yeah,
yep,
X, I'm sure,
TikTokification.
will do it.
We'll have to
and they
put that
love it.
into the show notes. TikTokification, right, as a keyword. But ultimately, what we do at Future Proof You, we teach you how to create your personal brand of where you want to go and how you can evolve over time. We do have a class. It's actually downloadable now. Networking at scale with content. So if you want to visit our website, futureproof-you.com, you can see our courses. We have live classes as well as downloadable asynchronous classes that you can watch on your own time. So back to creating content on LinkedIn. Aaron, you are one of the most effective content creators that I've ever seen. So what do you think that people can learn from your experiences as well as our classes?
Yeah, appreciate the compliment, Dan. I think my Gen Z students would say I'm a LinkedIn sweat. It's like a try hard. Um, you spend the most time on it. The biggest one for me is it's a permissionless era. Like if you want to be a product manager, but you're an English teacher, it's never been a lower barrier to entry to do that. And one of the requirements is you have to be creating content around it. Maybe you're not an expert yet. One of your
Mm-hmm.
strategies, Dan, you taught me, go to a conference. Okay, write an article the next Monday. Here's the 5 things I learned from the product management conference and tag the speakers. I'm networking, I'm creating authentic connections with people. And the most important thing, someone reads that and goes, oh, you know that? You're into that world, you have that skill. And that's what I've experienced is a lot of people do things in the dark and they don't shine a light.
Yeah.
I've I've shared this story before. When I first got on LinkedIn, it's because Dan was a speaker in my class and told my students they should all not go to law school and instead get into plumbing and hallucinogenics. Um, and
And
one of
elder
those things is
care
like you
and elder
and
care.
elder and clean air and clean water. I still have notes. And one of the things he told me was like, you should have LinkedIn profiles. And he was speaking to these leadership students in high school, but I'm in the back going, I don't even have a LinkedIn. I've never looked at it or updated it. And when I first got on there, I saw people doing things that I knew how to do, and they'd get comments and followers and consulting gigs and all this stuff. And I was like, they're not smarter than me. How come they get all this stuff? And I was like, oh, I don't share anything that I do. It was all happening, in a cave, 1,000 feet below ground where nobody knew about it. And what if I took a year and posted once a day on LinkedIn? What would happen? And it's been one of the best investments I've ever made to grow, to learn, to connect with people like you guys and the students we've had in our classes. And it's really just a way of like, I have a documentary now and you can follow along on LinkedIn at noon every day. I schedule a post or whatever your style is.
Well, I think it's a great example, of what people can do once they make the decision, right, to take control over their own career, their own future. It's not just networking with people, right? We talk about this all the time. When you network with people you don't know, you're going to learn infinitely more from people you don't know because it's almost like divided by zero. And so one of the concepts that I think that doesn't get talked enough, even by us, and is you network through ideas, which is actually a Malcolm Gladwell concept, being a super connector, right? So being a super connector of people and ideas, or ideas to people, right? And also being that being that conduit. Once you get known as a conduit, that's also a personal brand. And so I hope that for everybody. I hope that genuinely. I hope that for everybody that when you bring more of yourself and your personality, your EQ, and your ability to see things that other people might not be able to, I think that's um, just a great brand in and of itself. And John, you're an expert. You're an expert at this too. You do this naturally. You do this so naturally when you're talking about just completely varied concepts from science fiction to today's world. You're bringing it all together. I think that's one of your strengths that I've always marveled at.
It's my geekery.
Being a geek, yes.
By the way, Malcolm Gladwell is super approachable, very down to earth guy. I met him at an event once. He was really cool.
There you go. So,
And you guys know this in the recruiting world. How many people say, if I could get in the room and get the interview, I could show people what I can do. The thing that I've learned is like make a video about it and post it. Write an article about it and share it. And you don't always have to wait until you get the interview to show someone what you know. You used to like 20, 30 years ago. You don't anymore. So put it out there. And here's the coolest part to me. I think about this all the time. There's an algorithm, a math equation designed to find the people who actually want to see that thing. And all you have to do is let it loose. It's like putting an envelope in your mailbox without an address and be like, find the 10 people who'd most want to read my letter. And it magically went to them. That's inconceivable before social media. Now, that's what they're optimized to do. It's like, oh, someone who's looking to hire an AI ethicist. I found this content on LinkedIn of someone who talks about AI ethics every day. I should interview them or, reach out to them or offer them a role at my company because I've seen them demonstrate their competency through their content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So it actually behooves you to get out there even more so because you never know where your audience is going to be. But guess what? The algorithm knows. And so everybody could be working on their personal brand even more.
It's like you have a matchmaker in the middle of a networking event, really.
Right.
Hey, you should meet this person. They're interested in what you're interested in.
Yeah. Even though they're 400 feet away across the room, you should go meet them and go hang out with them. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If I could plug really quickly, speaking of networking and also LinkedIn, since these are really good topics, we are doing an AMA next week in our community where you can network with some other people who are trying to future-proof themselves, as well as ask us any questions about LinkedIn, whether it's content or whether it's your profile in general.
Yes, absolutely. So you can find out more at futureproof-you.com, Futureproof You, our website, and please go visit there. We have our courses as well as our community, and become part of the community. Join the group, as we call them, Future Proofers. So thank you so much for joining another episode of F Yourself, Future Proof Use podcast. Thank you so much. Have a great day. John,
Thanks,
Aaron,
everybody.
as always.
Thank you, everyone.